is Buddhi. Can I ask one of you to poke the box? Buddhi Yoga. So the yoga of the knowledge of myself. What is that knowledge by which all things are known, without which nothing can be known, beyond which there is nothing to know, the end of knowledge. Veda Anta. Vedanta. All right, will you help us out, please, Deepa?
Yeah. Buddhi yukto jahatiha ubhe sukrita drushkrite tasmad yogaya yujyasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. Endowed with the wisdom of evenness of mind, one casts off in this life both good deeds and evil deeds. Therefore, devote yourself to yoga. Still in action is yoga.
Skill in action. Does he use kushala?
Kaushalam.
Kaushalam, yes, yes. So, again, he's using this term Buddhi Yoga. Now, this is a great secret. We're actually dealing with two kinds of knowledge here. The first knowledge is that perfect knowledge that cannot be gained, that cannot be lost, that is nityam, eternal. How do you know that you are you? You do not see, hear, taste, touch, or smell yourself. I don't mean your body. I mean you. You do not emote yourself. You do not think yourself. You will never see yourself as an object of awareness. Yet you do not doubt that you are. How do you know it? Knower, knowing, and known is merged in the experience of the self. I am the knower of me. I am my own means of knowledge, me. What is it that is known? Not as an object, me. Now, this is the great cosmic joke. Everybody already has that. If I were to ask one of you, do you think you're not realized? Oh no, Jim, I'm not realized. Are you in ignorance? Oh, I'm in terrible ignorance, yes. Is your life unhappy and miserable? Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea how unhappy and miserable I am. By the way, do you exist? Of course I exist. What's your existence? Misery. Do you know your misery? Oh, I know my misery. So you thunder, I am. I know. So there's something else that happens. Technical term is called pratyabhignana. It's oftentimes translated as recognition. So in a mind that's made very, very quiet, or we could say an intellect of buddhi, it's made very balanced and still. In the space between your thoughts, after a thought has thoughted, before another thought starts thoughting, with the attentive faculty turned within. What is your essential nature? And you see there's nothing there, no thing there. That it shines as the space of pure awareness. And if your mind quietens and drops and the subtle intellect has this insight, it goes, oh, I'm not a person. I am the space of consciousness. That shift in the buddhi is what happens. It's transformative. It's incredibly subtle, but incredibly profound. So the scriptures say both bondage and liberation occur to the mind. The self is ever free. Your self doesn't get enlightened. Your self doesn't get liberated. Your self is already the lighted being. It's my stupid mind, but that's where my suffering happens. What is my bondage? My bondage is the deeply rooted belief that I'm my body, that I'm a person. I attribute to myself the qualities of the not self. What is liberation? What is moksha? The deeply rooted conviction in the subtle intellect based in direct experience. Not that I'm an enlightened person, but I am Brahman. I am that space of consciousness. Neither state affects or changes the self. Now, this is getting too woo or subtle. Let's see if we can use some worldly examples. I usually use two of them. One of them is bring your attention to the sensation of your pants on your waist. Are your pants too loose, too tight, just right? Now, you've been having the direct experience of the waistband of your pants since you put them on this morning. But you probably weren't paying attention to them after you buttoned them up. Sensation of pants on my skin, direct experience. But what did we just do? This is called reflection. We turned the mind's eye, its attentive faculty, to that direct experience. Now, what I did with my intellect, are my pants too tight, are my pants too loose, are they just right? That reflection is not the same as the direct experience of putting your pants on. If you get up in the morning, take a shower, and your pants are there in the closet, you cannot go through the process. Are my pants too tight or my pants too loose? No, you have to have the direct experience. Likewise, rub your hands together. Direct experience. Now, when you rubbed your hands together, was it stasis or motion? Motion. Did it create warmth or coolness? Warmth. Two processes went on. Direct experience. The instrument for hand rubbing is hands. But then we did a second process. We reflected on that. Now, our imagery falls down when it comes to the self, because you can't begin and end selfing. And selfing is not, or I-ing is not, an objective phenomenon. You are always you. You're always I. But what you can do is turn the attentive faculty of the mind on that direct experience. Why is this important? Because as Kathopanishad says, the Lord created the senses without going tendencies. Here what it means is the mind is used to looking outward. When the mind is looking outward, a phony self arises, i.e. Jim, the knower of phenomena. And in the subtle intellect, it's actually in the Vijnana Maya Kosha. We'll get into that at a later class. I attribute to the self the qualities of not self. But that individuality, the scriptures use the term chit chaya. Chaya in Sanskrit means shadow or reflection. It's a phony self. It's a shadow self. It's not real. It's not permanent. If you introvert the attentive faculty and go looking for that individual, it falls, just like shining a light on a shadow. Does that mean that there's nothing there? Am I a zero? Oh, well, are you? Or are you full of being? Sat, pure existence. Chit, pure awareness. Ananda. For now, let's translate that as no sorrow reaches there. Don't believe me. Look. This is Buddhi Yoga. And what we want to do is maintain the sameness of vision for everything in the world. We've been introduced to this notion of equality of mind, equality of vision. It's all going to be okay. Why? Because nothing touches me. It's all going to be okay. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्ध विनिर्मुक्ताः पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयम्. The wise, possessed of knowledge, having abandoned the fruits of their actions, freed from the fetters of birth, go to the state which is beyond all evil.
Yes. So let's parse this one. There's a lot of stuff in here. Actions do not effect, change, improve, or diminish the self. Self just is. There's space in the cup. If the cup is bigger, smaller, different color, dirty, clean, none of it affects space. What we need to do, the practice that's implied here throughout the day, practice just stopping. See, be like, put your thumb on your mind. Just stop it. Turn the attentive faculty inward and see whether you've changed. Nope. Still Chid Akasha, still the space of pure awareness. This allows the yogi to just let the world be. She gives up regret for the past. Body, mind, intellect just played its role in the drama. She gives up concern for the future. It's all going to work out. It doesn't mean I'm going to get what I want. It means whether it is beneficence or calamity, the yogi meets it with serenity. Now, when it says here that we're freed from rebirth, we attain immortality, we go beyond samsara. Many of us in our romantic notions think that I, the individual, am going to go to some other place, some other state. That's not really what happens. I like to use the example of the story of Tarzan. Tarzan is raised thinking he's an ape. The European explorer comes and shows him, no, you're not a gorilla or a chimpanzee, you're human. Does he change from a chimpanzee into a human? The ontological question, does his being change? No. But his understanding of who he is changes profoundly. Moses is raised thinking he's a prince of Egypt. He then discovers that he's actually an Israelite. His morphology, his body, does not change at all. But his understanding of who he is changes profoundly. So also, we don't become the self, achieve the self, acquire the self. What's the English term we usually use? Self-realization. I realize what I've always been. It's like this. Has anybody seen my glasses? I've looked all over the house. I've even been going, glasses, 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 glasses. Oh, I'm so bereft. Oh, I need glasses. I'm going to go on Amazon and buy glasses. What am I going to do? Oh, wait. There they are. I had them all along. Have you ever gotten ready to leave the house and you can't find your keys? You check the dresser, you check a purse, you check the jacket you wore last night. What am I going to do? Where are my goddamn keys? Ah, then you realize you put them in your pocket and you forgot you did it. Anybody done that? Mm-hmm. Did you lose your keys? Well, yes and no. So also, we get nothing new. If you could achieve, attain, acquire the self, you could lose it. We rediscover, we realize that which we've always been. But in my subtle intellect, I didn't know it. So my problem is avidya, deep spiritual ignorance of my self-nature. So we practice what the scriptures call atma vichara. Vichara, usually translated as discrimination or inquiry, comes from the Sanskrit root vich, which means to actually winnow, separate the wheat from the chaff. So I separate out all the ideas about self, stuff that I thought was me. So Hugh and I were talking before class. So your identity as the head of this company, you've been doing it for 10 years?
Yep.
Yeah, it's not you. Relationship, I am the son or the daughter of so-and-so, I have a spouse, so-and-so, I am the parent of this child and that child. Sometimes we can be attached to negative identities. Oh, I'm a victim of childhood sex abuse. I'm a victim of an alcoholic parent. I have PTSD because of my abuse. That's who I am. Sometimes those are even more difficult to renounce, to disidentify than positive things. All of it has to go. Listen very carefully. We're not taking low self-esteem. I'm a worm, nobody loves me, everybody hates me, and changing that into I'm a fabulous person, everybody knows I'm just wonderful. No. All of it has to go. This is the Buddhi Yoga. Now, the other thing that self-realization gives us, it gives us what I call existential freedom. I finally realize it's okay. Nothing can ever touch me or harm me. Is I have found out where happiness is. Happiness is the mind coming home to the self. Not gonna do it tonight, but if you go online and Google Hanuman embracing Rama, very, very famous paintings of the monkey god Hanuman, which is the mind. And he's embracing Lord Ram, who's just very there with a kind of a neutral expression. Ram, of course, is the self. Hanuman is the mind. That's where the mind finally finds peace. Come home. Hurry home. Hurry. And for Mike, St. Augustine says, "Thou hast made us for thyself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it finds its rest in thee." All right, next verse.
Jim, can I ask a question?
Please.
So with Buddhi Yoga, the yoga is So if you have a tape that plays in your head about whether you're fabulous or you're a victim or whatever, you overcome that tape. But
Yes,
say
it's
you,
only a habit.
yeah. But so, but so for example, what about, people who are trauma victims and maybe they found a path that helps them overcome the tape in their minds.
Yes.
But and what about the subconscious, like behavioral changes that result from actual abuse? Say a child was abused and they become hypervigilant or not trusting because of that.
Well,
Then-
first of all, what you have to do, I mean, what I love is the first sutra of the second chapter of Yoga Sutra. That has this kind of tool. And that sutra goes this: tapas swadhyayeshwara pranidhana kriya yoga. So let's take it from the middle part. Swadhyaya. The way Patanjali defines swadhyaya, in our tradition, we say it's our own study of scripture. He says it's our own psychological self-awareness. So the first thing we have to do is become aware of those unconscious tendencies. So let's say that you live in fear and you're hypervigilant. You may not even know it. Does that make sense?
Mm.
So through meditation, through journaling, through maybe psychotherapy, some technique, you find, oh yeah, I'm in fear all the time. I'm constantly going, how am I doing? Am I okay? And you see it for what it is. It's a klesha. It's an affliction. It's not true. It's just a habituated thought. Does that make sense?
Mm.
That's swadhyaya. Now what do? Tapas. Tapas is usually translated as austerity. It literally means heat. It means we engage in a process. We use the higher intellect to deal with the mind, to move the mind from one kind of thinking to another. So you may need to go through the process. No, my mind is telling me that I'm not safe. But the truth is, I am safe. Nobody's going to get me. They're not putting bamboo under my fingernails today. It's okay right here, right now. And then the best way to deal with that, Ishvara Pranidhana, trustful surrender to God. I can't deal with this, God. I'm still afraid. I need to give it to you. I ask you to free me from my fear and direct my attention to what you would have me do. How can I be of service? And we do it over and over and over. My experience working with lots of people, you go to the psychotherapist and you find out why this is the trauma you had with this parent, you had this relative do this, you were raped when you were in high school. Many of us have horrible things happen to us. But understanding is the booby prize, as one of my heart used to say. It doesn't change anything. What do I need to do to change it? Swadhyaya, tapas, Ishvara Pranidhana. It's going to be okay because God's in charge. So if my problem is hypervigilance and fear, why should I not fear? Because God is with me. Now, all traditions have forms of this. Who here knows the 23rd Psalm? The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Goes on and on.
But
Right.
you're, in a way, you're also saying that even subconscious tendencies are basically yet another kind of tape.
That's
right?
all they are. How did they get in there? Sense perception repeated. That's all it is. It's not you, and it's not a thing. And at least we can weaken it. Is that useful?
Yeah. That's pretty helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions on this? And when you see it arise, you see it for what it is, and you don't feed it with power. Like one of the ones that I work on. Doing pretty well with it now. I'm a horrible backseat driver. It's a vestigial control issue. And I laugh at myself because I'm a blind backseat driver with a poor sense of direction. But I can see, I'm in the car, so I'm totally lost. Where are we? Like it matters. I was driving with a friend last night. I had no idea where we were or where he was going. Sure enough, he went wrong direction, got off wrong place, went to the wrong. I didn't care. Jai, thank you, God. I'm getting better. Maybe let it go. Just a little bit. But I don't superimpose it and beat other people over the head. Not quite so bad. But it's practice. But the first thing to realize is it's not real.
Jim, I have a question as well.
This Shweta,
Yes, Hari Om, Jim.
Hari Om.
It's about the 3 steps, Swadhyaya, Tapas, and Ishwar Pranidhana. So these are steps that I should follow for myself, but I'd like to hear more your thoughts about, what you can do for others. So the context of this is that, as you know, I'm in an educational institute. And recently, there have been a spate of student suicides, attempted suicides, and, a couple of them recently were even successful. So there is a huge amount of distress in the community, and people are trying to figure out what to do. And, one of the things that everybody keeps talking about is counseling. But like we were discussing just now, you said, right, that in psychotherapy, you can figure out what caused you to be this way, but that does not necessarily fix the problem.
But what can happen with young people especially, part of the issue is young people feel they are unique.
Yeah.
I'm the only one with this problem, and there's nobody I can turn to for support. So I would strongly recommend that the school invest in skillful psychotherapists. Not the school nurse who just has a good ear. You need skillful people and to provide the resources. And you may need to involve, parents perhaps. I don't know why they're suicidal. Is it the pressure of getting good grades? Are they with sexual orientation issues?
All of it, right?
Is it sex abuse on campus? And there's lots and lots of things. But the main issue that I found with young people is they feel alone. And they are probably not ready for yoga.
Yeah, that is also what I have been grappling with. I'm sorry, I don't want to take the class on a tangent too much, but I mean, the school, in fact, does have psychotherapists. Maybe it should have more. But we also find that students have a lot of peer pressure. They don't want to admit that they have a problem. They don't even turn to the counseling services that are already available. They
So
don't turn.
this might be a good discussion for you to have in class. Maybe this is more important than the content that you're teaching for one day.
Right.
It can become a teaching moment. So let me give you an example out of my own life. So I used to teach, it was called general studies. It was college level study skills for incoming freshmen who would come and they really couldn't write. They had all sorts of problems. And I was teaching one of these classes when 9/11 happened in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
We set everything aside. And of course, so many of the people would, they're terrible people. We ought to go over and bomb the hell out of them. And I said, no, wait a minute. Why are these young men so angry that they would plot to hijack 4 planes and kill themselves and thousands of people? What's going on? And actually, we had a couple Pakistani kids in the class. They were so appreciative that we made space for them to talk about the issues. It was far more important than talking about music history. So that's something you may elect to do as an educator. You can talk about the importance of supporting one another, of we're as sick as our secrets. Secrets will kill us. Young people need to know that.
They don't even show up, Jim. Like we held a meeting where we said that, all students should come and we'll talk about it. They didn't even show up. Like 10 of them showed up.
I don't know what to say, but I don't want to spend, we can talk offline.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
But the point I want to get at is not everyone is ready for Buddhi Yoga yet.
Yeah, that's clear.
Yeah. All right, going on. Next verse.
Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. When your intellect crosses beyond the mire of delusion, then you shall attain to indifference as to what has been heard and what is yet to be heard.
I love this verse. So when we get out of the mind, Swamiji used to shock us. He would bellow, "Shut up and get out!" You would think they were supposed to get up and walk out of the satsang hall. No. Shut the mind up. Stop it. Drop it. Get out. Let the mind be stupid. And the mark of the man or woman of wisdom is they don't believe the mind. So whatever information comes, blah, 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 blah. Don't be. Yeah, but what about? Yeah, but what about? Yeah, but what about? Drop it. Let the mind simply be still. So in that great Christian classic, The Cloud of Unknowing, place a cloud of forgetting between you and the world, and a cloud of unknowing between you and God. This is not knowing, it's unknowing. Stop. One of the marks of a person who's begun to get this, as opposed to someone who's attached to information, is people who get into what I call spiritual data wars, where you start flaming one another on Facebook. You're well, your guru is well, he must not have been realized. All caught up in what has been heard and what has not been heard. It's not about debate. Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi just lie on his couch, deep in samadhi. Bring all the disciples' minds into that sacred space. Next verse. What number are we on?
53. Shruti vipratipanna yada sthasyati nishala samadhavachala buddhis tada yogamavapsyati. When your intellect, though perplexed by what you have heard, shall stand immovable and steady in the self, then you shall attain self-realization.
So some gurus will deliberately contradict themselves. Probably the one who did this the most was Osho, Rajneesh. It's so funny because he'll do some very erudite. He was a philosophy teacher, very, very academic. Head would hurt, it would be so complicated. And he'd turn around and completely contradict himself. People would just get so upset. It's a chinhyam, something. One of my favorite terms, avyapadesham. Upadesha means to talk about. Upadesha, avyapadesham. Talk about. I can remember a conversation Swamiji had. A disciple came to him once and said, Swamiji, we need to have a talk. Swamiji said, what is there to talk about? Talking is stupid. Now, starting with 54, we enter into a whole new section, the second chapter. This is known as the Sthita Prajna Purusha section. Marks of a person of steady wisdom. What do we do with this? Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you what not to do. Okay. No, she's not realized. No, he's not realized. He might be. No, it is not to be used to measure other people. One person of realization can recognize another. If you are not a person of realization, you don't know if another person is. If they say they are, how do you know they aren't blowing smoke or not deluding themselves? And if they say they're not, well, then why bother? You know, it's a pointless quest. I'm looking for the perfect master. You wouldn't know it if you saw it. So we use these to measure our own sadhana. Now, Hamlet says to his mother, Gertrude, assume a virtue if you have it not. These marks of the person of steady wisdom manifest spontaneously to the woman of knowledge. For you and me, we practice them. So each one of these is an invitation to practice. Now, back to this guru business. In Shankara's Vivekachudamani, he has this marvelous section called The Qualifications of a Fit Student. And then it's followed by a lovely verse, very short, about the qualifications of a fit teacher. In the tradition, not always, but often, when there's a list of things, the most important is listed first. What do you think Shankara's first qualification of a good teacher is? Anybody remember?
Ocean of compassion or realization?
Shrotriyam, yes. Shrotriyam means literally well versed in the scriptures. Its deeper meaning is, can the teacher wield a valid means of knowledge? There have been many, many great saints, and they may have devotees, but not disciples. But what you can do is see, well, what are their disciples like? Have they been successful in transmitting the things I will say about Swami Chimayananda? Dozens and dozens and dozens of realized students who themselves have become very good gurus. He was Shrotriya. He wielded a valid means of knowledge and could teach it to others. He was a full knower of the Supreme who has retired into the Supreme. Go on. That's not important. So, what's most important is, can the teacher transmit? Now, it doesn't happen too much anymore, but in the old days when I had vast majority of my students were white people, Westerners, I would get, oh, Jim, why do you teach from these dusty old Sanskrit, books? But just speak from your heart. And I'll tell you why. Because the Shankara tradition that's been transmitted to me of Advaita Vedanta is incredibly powerful. Because I have watched it work on students and seen their minds turn back upon themselves. They are lost in the vision of their own self-nature. That's the power. So that's something to look for. And Shankara always says, success in spiritual endeavors is entirely due to the degree of the qualifications of the student. Other factors such as time and place, I would add even the group, though important, are fundamentally secondary. All right, 54. See what Arjuna asks.
Arjunavacha Thita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava sthitadiki prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. What, O Keshava, is the description of him who has steady wisdom and who is merged in the superconscious state? How does one of steady wisdom speak? How does he sit? How does he walk?
So this sthita prajna, which literally just means steady, sthita, wisdom, prajna. And he says merged in the superconscious state. Here, the word the scriptures used is samadhi. Many kinds of samadhi. The etymology I like is sama equal the mind. Absolute equanimity of mind. How does he walk? How does he talk? How does he sit? How does he eat? All these questions. Now, we talked a bit how when Shankara makes a list of things, the most important is first. Verse 55 of the second chapter is my favorite verse in the whole Bhagwad Gita. It has all that we need to know about the path and the goal. It is the first thing that Krishna says in this list of 18 verses. 55.
Shri Bhagwan Vacha Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatat atmanyevatmana tushta sthita pragyasta dochyate. The blessed Lord said, when a man completely casts off, O Partha, all the desires of the mind, and is satisfied in the self, by the self, then he is said to be the one of steady wisdom.
Yes. So first thing, when a person casts off completely all the desires of the mind, let it go. But what do? We discover the Chintamani, the wish-fulfilling gem, and we cast it aside and go looking for colored pieces of glass. Yeah, I want self-realization, but I got to take care of my business. I got to take care of my relationships. I have things to do with my parents. I have my girlfriend. I have my boyfriend. I've got my career. Worthless pieces of glass. Cast off completely all the desires of the mind and satisfied in the self by the self. So the person of steady wisdom has been able to tune up the mind to enter into this samadhi. The expressions I love is called Atma Brahmana. Brahmaramati means to revel. Ramana Maharshi, the great sage who revels, that's what his name means. Rama, he who revels. So if we have the great punya to be able to get the darshan, the divine vision of a woman or a man of knowledge, and we have the capacity to surrender. Swamiji was just so empty. He would just fall into infinity. One who casts off completely all the desires of the mind and is satisfied in the self, by the self. That's a person who's steady wisdom. Next verse.
दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः सुखेषु विगतस्पृह वीतरागभयक्रोध स्थितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते. He whose mind is not shaken up by adversity, and who in prosperity does not hanker after pleasures, who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady wisdom.
So here the word he's used is a muni, a sage of steady wisdom. Muni comes from the same root as maunam, which is silence. So when you tune to the mind, of the sage. There's nothing there. It's shunyata. It's empty, empty. And if calamity comes at the level of the body, mind, intellect, just the movie going by. And if pleasurable things come, it's just the movie going by. The Master Jesus framed it this way: my kingdom is not of this world. I'm in the world, but not of it. The Muni has another playground. No need to avoid the world. The world is not bad. The world is not dangerous. It's just void. Trinkets and baubles, colored pieces of glass, not precious gems. The woman of steady wisdom goes for the pearl of great price. Brahmananda rasa. What's rasa mean? Juice.
Flavor.
Juice. Essence. The juice. The bliss. Brahman. Next verse.
यः सर्वत्रानभिस्ने हस्तत् तत्प्राप्य शुभाशुभं नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. He who is everywhere without attachment, on meeting with anything good or bad, who neither rejoices nor hates, his wisdom is fixed.
Yes. So again, we have to reconcile two scriptural statements. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahman alone is real. The phenomenal world is an illusion, literally a lie, fake news. But Chandogya says, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Sarvam Idam, all this, meaning the phenomenal world. Kalu, verily is Brahman, it's God. Well, make up your mind. Is it illusion or is it God? Yes. So the question is, what is this world? How has it come about? It comes about by means of sankalpa. It's the term the scriptures use. Sankalpa is an almost impossible word to translate. Wish, will, thought, desire, intention. It is the process whereby a thought becomes a thing. God does not create the world the way a potter creates a pot. A potter has clay, which is other than the potter, and he makes the pot. Potter, pot, different. Close your eyes and imagine a mango. Now open your eyes. You imagine the mango. The place where it happened was your mind. And the mango you imagined is nothing but your mind appearing as name and form. The mango is not real. The awareness is real. Mango's just imagination. And the mango is nothing but you, your mind, appearing as mango. All this is no different. It is nothing but consciousness appearing as name. So the person of steady wisdom not only knows I am Brahman, but she has the capacity to see the self in and through all the objects. So it's all God. There's nothing to fear. There's nothing to yearn after. It all just goes by like a movie. You go nowhere. Names and forms are constantly changing, and they have no inherent positive or negative quality. It's just what my mind attributes to. It's all God. Don't sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff. Don't worry. Be happy. To renounce the world doesn't mean to run away from the world. It's to give the big cosmic middle finger to the world. It's all just the dance. The word that the scriptures use frequently is Leela. That's frequently a woman's name. What does Leela mean?
Play.
Play. And like the English word play, which has two meanings, Leela has two meanings. We talk about all this as the divine Leela. Play, you can go to the theater and watch a drama, a play. Or I can go across the street and I can watch young people tossing a football back and forth, playing a game of football, playing. So this world is the sport of the infinite Leela. And it's also the divine drama. Each one of us has a body, mind, intellect, which is a costume. And you play your part in the Leela. But just like in the theater, when the drama's over, you take off the costume and go home. You are never touched by the character you play. You may be the heroine of the play. It may be a tragedy. Oh, I die. Then the curtain closes, you get up and go home. You may have a bit part. You may be the grave digger in Hamlet. None of the costumes and the characters in the Leela touch the actor. None of it touches. All right. And this is a great section.
Mhm.
We'll end here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.